Hi, and welcome to Post-Burnout.com interviews. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. My name is Aaron Kavanagh, and I'm the website's founder and editor-in-chief. This is our website's podcast where we interview people from various artistic disciplines. These episodes are sometimes full-length interviews from our site's articles, and other times exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thanks for coming back, and if you're new here, thanks for checking us out. We hope you'll like it and stick around with us. In this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, we speak with Gerry Norman of the Belfast band PiNKSLiPS. Gerry discusses creating the band after being in a series of successful acts, working as a solo artist, the band's debut single, moved from Tallaght to Sligo to Edinburgh to Belfast, and the music scenes in each of those places, and more.
Very good. That'll do the job. Right, so you're from fucking Kilmarnock. I was Oban.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Oban, and so I left Tallaght when I was like 6. So I grew up in Sligo.
Okay.
But I always have a reason to go back to Tallaght every now and then.
Yep.
Funerals these days mostly.
Oh shit, sorry.
Getting to that time of your life where it's like you see all your relatives at fucking weddings and funerals. That's
right. Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that.
What's the story?
I'm glad on yourself.
Good. Cheers for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's talk about actually. First of all, I want to talk about like how you actually got into music yourself. Like, what made you want to become a musician?
I got into music because I didn't know what else to get. I didn't have a passion in life outside of football.
Right.
And it was very worrying for my parents. So I wasn't really into music when I was in school, or wasn't definitely not playing music. I only got my first guitar when I was 18. I was into art and design, and I was in design college in Sligo, and then that's when I got my first guitar. So I've always been quite creative, and but I kind of started to find my people at the age of 15 to 18, and because other than that, up to that, it was just I grew up in a housing estate where if you were allowed, you played football, which I did, I loved. But there wasn't too many alternative guys in the estate that I grew up in. Right. And if you were a fucking hippie, and you'd probably get a hard time.
Yeah.
But then in college, I found my people. I found my people, and I wasn't just the weirdo anymore. And got into it after that. It didn't take me long. I was only playing for about 3 or 4 months, and I was like, "That's it. I'm the next Damien Rice." And me and the girlfriend moved to Edinburgh. She's an artist. I'm a musician, so Sligo wasn't going to be the place for us,
Right.
Unless you're a trad or jazz. Sligo's great for that, but not that. So that's pretty much that's how it started. And it's kind of I think because I got into it so late, I always still feel kind of fresh. And I was a bit of a rebel growing up. Like if music was the one thing that my parents didn't try to get me to do because they weren't music people at all. Yep. So they tried to push me. I was working with plumbers and tilers and carpenters and just everything because that's what they knew. Right. But I was a bit of a rebel. I had to find it myself, and because I found it myself, I just loved it. It was my little thing. So and I still have that over them because they still don't really know, too much about it. They're more football. But yeah, it happened very organically. We have musicians in the family, in the Dublin side of the family, and no real songwriters or band members. I think I was the first one there, but yeah, always have to be a little bit different.
So, did you actually? Because you said it was around 18 when you went to college and started getting into playing music. Was it to join the band, or was it just coincidental timing?
Not at all. Never thought I'd join a band. I just got an acoustic guitar for Christmas, and about 3 months later, I was able to play "Good Riddance" by Green Day, and it just blew my fucking mind. I was like, "Holy shit! I'm actually making music."
Yeah.
And then there was an amazing open mic in Sligo, that we used to play, and it was not your average open mic. Like, people actually listened, and It was a dark room, candlelit tables, and a host, and it was like cabaret almost. But people really listened. So my introduction to performing, my very, very first time was, it was like you were doing a proper gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you were saying like when you were like about 15 or so, you were kind of like sort of getting into music, like as a listener, I guess. Like, what were you kind of like listening to? What kind of like inspired you in terms of like what you?
Well, I remember my dad bought OK Computer by mistake.
Okay.
Because he thought Creep was on it.
All right.
And he was like, "This is shit. I don't want it." And I remember having a CD Walkman.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck me. And we were going to Dublin on one of our many trips to Tallaght. In the early years, we would go home a lot more often to see the family. And then I remember the headphones, looking at the car and the drive from Sligo to Dublin, listening to OK Computer, being like,
yeah,
what the fuck? This is not Westlife. This is not.
Yeah.
Even the Beatles was probably the coolest band I listened to back then because my sister listened to the Beatles. But in my house, it was Garth Brooks. It's a typical Irish fucking house. It was Garth Brooks, Oasis.
Mm-hmm.
Westlife, Celine Dion. That was pretty much it. With the odd kind of Michael Jackson thing or something. But listening to Radiohead, and then I started hanging out with the kind of the freaks and geeks in Summerhill College, and they were all into bands, like cool bands, and they were introducing me to stuff like that. And I remember Alanis Morissette and Jagged Little Pill and R.E.M., Nirvana, all that stuff started coming, and I had never really been introduced to this stuff before, and blew my tiny little mind. And then that was it. I just pretty much kind of lost the love of playing football because it was just too competitive. I lost my competitive edge, and I just thought music is something that you could be just competitive with yourself, because it's such a subjective thing. It's not like you're going to win the league. It's you like it or you fucking don't, and chances are if you don't like it, someone else is going to like it. And I was like, I like that side of life. And so I lost. I liked it. I like the fact that it wasn't a competitive thing. As I said, I grew up very, very competitive, and I just I found a world that was the exact opposite, and I loved that. But about 15 and 16 started. So it was pretty much a late bloomer, but I was a late bloomer. Yeah, mentally, physically, everything. So kind of it was apt.
What was the kind of like music scene like there in Sligo? Did you have any gigs to go to, or did you have to kind of travel to Dublin to go to see shows?
Do you know what was great about Sligo? It actually did, because there was a pub in Sligo called McGarrigles, and we were just blessed to have it. Like, so again, that age where I was becoming going into town to drink and all. Mm-hmm. There was, so you're in Dublin, so basically, say if you wanted to go see Bell X1 back in the day, you'd have to go to the big gig at the Point Depot, right? Mm-hmm. But for them, what bands like them, the Frames and Snow Patrol and Damien Rice, Paddy Casey, they'd all do a tour of, like, say, Cypress Avenue in Cork. They come up to Belfast, they do Galway, they do Roisin Duff in Galway, and they do McGarrigles in Sligo. So we got to see all the bands in a room that could, 150 people, and it's full, on the same tour that they're playing the Point Depot in Dublin. Right. So actually, and that's not there anymore. It's like the Sligo music. There's not too many places, small venues for people to play anymore. Like, I haven't lived in Sligo in 20 years. That doesn't really bother me too much. But when I was there, it actually was, you could get to see the Frames and Josh Ritter come into town and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of lucky, actually. Yeah.
That's sick, man. And like in general, like what about like even just buying, because like this is like the era of CDs and stuff. Like, did you have like alternative record shops, or was it just kind of like HMV, the big ones, or stuff?
No, we did. Again, lucky enough. The thing about Sligo is it does have a lot of musicians, but as I say, it's the trad, jazz kind of scene. But in saying that, we with a couple of great record shops. I actually think the record shop was called The Record Shop. I think it was. But yeah, like, I remember going in, when you had to take a punt on an album, like, because you couldn't just go on Spotify. So, and when you're a kid, I remember, I think I paid £16 for Tom Petty's anthology. Mm-hmm. And I was like, fuck, I have to like it. You can't just return it saying this is shit. So yeah, I was bad into greatest hits and anthologies back in the day. I know I got like Jimi Hendrix and Tom Petty and I think Green Day. Remember what was their international super hits? Yeah. I was bad at the Green Day back in the day, and so it did have a pretty cool record stuff. But at the time, I was still, I was still kind of like getting greatest hits albums rather than specific albums. Yeah. You know, where now I'm a bit more of a snob. I'd be like, I'd have to get a certain album and let's do it back to finish. But no, Sligo was good like that. And even though it was a minority, there was still enough music fans, and there was underage gigs and stuff like that. And there was a good alternative scene. That I know there was a kind of an alternative nightclub that we used to go to called Soup or something like that, and it would play Metallica and even Jeff Buckley and stuff like that. And so and this was before the internet was really big, so it was good to have that. And my wife is very alternative as well, so I remember I met her when I was 18. She's an artist and into really cool music as well, so getting into her friend group was a big thing for me, because I was able to actually talk to people about, because the other guys that I was still mates with just thought I was a bit of a weirdo for knowing who Jeff Buckley was and wanting to go to fucking Oxygen at the summer, you know what I mean? And now everyone's fucking at it. All the footballers they're all going to Electric Picnic, but buying their tickets before they even know who's playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is like yeah, that's like cool that you had that kind of like scene still, like and yeah, so like in general then when it kind of came to like sorry, so were you didn't go to college in Sligo, you moved
No, I went to college in Sligo,
yeah. So were you doing like music with other musicians there, or was it just solo stuff at that time?
No, it was solo stuff, and that open mic it was solo, and that's where I met the guy who I would eventually actually be in a band with for years and years. He did the same open mic, but it was never a plan on me to be in a band. And then he was like, "Oh, do you wanna come for a jam?"
Yeah.
And the thing is, like when you're playing by yourself, you don't really have to keep time too much because no one notices. So when you play with a band for the first time, you kind of have to shape up, and that's how you get good at music as well. Anyway, but we did a thing. We got a band together and we supported a couple of cool bands. Turn, you know Turn?
I don't know off the top of my head.
You gotta check out Turn, man. They're fucking great. They're not too active anymore, but they're a Dublin based band.
Okay.
And we always said that, we'd start a serious band in the future if we ever got the opportunity. So he moved to Belfast to study architecture, and then and I moved to Edinburgh, and then he was like, the scene here is fucking amazing. If you did want to move over, it would be a good time. I sure did, and I just do that. That's good enough for me. Bit of a drifter, just kind of go. And the Belfast scene was absolutely amazing. It's still not too bad, but when I moved here, first of all, it was absolutely amazing.
When would that been?
Oh, 2006, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm here quite a while, or 5, I would say maybe. And then even at that stage, I had an acoustic guitar. We were going to be more like Bell X1 and the Frames kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But then we ended up being a pretty fucking heavy rock band, and then PiNKSLiPS now is even heavier than that band. So we're kind of, because we always found it hard to pigeonhole ourselves, because we wrote acoustic songs and piano songs and rock songs, and people didn't know what the hell we were. So I was like, starting this new band, I was like, right guys, we're what do we call ourselves? We call ourselves an anthemic rock band.
Okay.
Which we think it implies it's loud and hard rocking as well.
Well, actually, like when you kind of like the Belfast scene, like I think it's like really interesting. I don't get to actually speak to too many artists from Belfast. I've spoken to a few actually, as much as I'd like to. I've spoken to Brother Vice, and I don't remember many else.
Right.
Well, I think it's like cool about like the Belfast scene when I was looking at it. Like I remember like, and you don't really see it anymore. Kind of sucks, but when like international artists would play Ireland, they would always do Dublin and Belfast.
Yeah.
They just seem to do Dublin, or they'll tend to do. I know it's like Limerick is getting pretty big as a spot for touring acts, and Cork as well. Yeah, but I remember like it used to be like if an act came to Ireland, it was always Dublin and Belfast were the two cities, say it to you, and you could always see like you could always see like, you know, the comparison in venue. So for example, if a band played the Olympia in Dublin, they played the Ulster Hall in Belfast. If a band played the Academy in Dublin, they played like Mandela
the
Hall in
Empire or
Belfast.
something like that.
Yeah. So it's always like you can kind of tell. And like, but I think Belfast actually, in comparison to Dublin, actually has a few more kind of like interesting venues that like kind of we're missing as well. Like, you know, for example, they have the kind of do the King's Hall, which I think is pretty inactive actually at the moment.
But it's closing down, unfortunately.
Yeah, but like that's such a great space. Like, you know what I mean?
It was good. I think it kind of became more of a conference type thing. But and then as I think the waterfront was probably a similar capacity. So, but there's Belfast is great. It's got anything from 100 capacity venues right up to the SSE Arena, and it is nice because I know there are definitely and Belfast struggled with it before, but it seems to just have a nice little, you know, if you start off here, there's your 100 capacity venue, then there's 200, and then there's the 3.
There's a great gradual kind of build.
Exactly, and we're at the start of that journey now because we're all in previous bands who are quite well known in the scene, but we're literally just starting from scratch. We're not trying to continue that at all. It's like right, that's all in the past. Did some great things, but we're a brand new band, so we're starting off. And I know the promoter was suggesting to do like a 300 capacity venue, and we're like, we haven't had a fucking proper gig in Belfast. We'll get there. Let's just relax. We'll do 100 capacity and have fun and fill it and have a big fucking rock show. And later in the year, we're in no rush. I think the advantage you have when you're a bit older starting a band is that you don't have the idea of just taking over the world, which is what we all did in our previous bands, you know. But that takes the pressure off, and you can just relax and enjoy the journey a bit more. Because I think younger bands, they just don't have the patience that we do. Yeah. And they just want to be playing the biggest venue in the next 6 months, and they want to be playing Reading and Leeds and all this stuff, which is great. And I've been there and done that. So it's nice to be able to have that experience and be like, actually, you know what? It's a lot more fun if you just play the smaller venues and fill them up rather than book the Empire and get 200 people into it and it's half fucking empty. You know what I mean? Creating a really good atmosphere, whether it's in a small room or a big one. Like that's one thing I've learned over the years is I'd much rather play a small room that's full of people than a room twice as big with the same amount of people. So
and also more kind of appreciative crowd too, because you know I find like once you kind of like start getting bigger, this was something I've observed, but like you get like the super fans kind of at the front and they're going like ape shit and stuff, but then you just get a lot of people at the back just kind of like somewhat into it, right?
Exactly. And you know what? That's another thing. I used to be like, everyone in the room has to be going fucking mental, or else as a front man, I'm not doing my fucking job, you know?
Yeah.
But then you observe so many gigs, and it's like 5% of the audience are the ones who are going ape shit at the front.
Right.
Most people, it doesn't matter how heavy your song is, they'll just be kind of bobbing their head anyway. So I've come to accept that, and then I quite enjoy just one big moment at the end, and I'll because I do enjoy like being a front man, and we did a gig at the weekend there this is a venue up here called the Music Centre.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
And cool. So me and David from PiNKSLiPS, it was 30 years from Nirvana's Unplugged album. So we played the album start to finish, and the place was full. We did it with a load of other acts from here, and at the end of the gig, we did Smells Like Teen Spirit just for the crack, and I got them up fucking hot. But that was for the last 2 minutes of an hour-long gig. You know what I mean? I think if you're trying to do that from the beginning, that's a tough job keeping them going for an hour. you need to be quite clever. It's like, all right, 2 minutes towards the end, we'll get them. And then that's when I get everybody to take their photos out for the video.
And actually, the kind of cool thing about the I haven't been there, but if I'm correct, they also serve as kind of like a music museum as well simultaneously. So they have like I remember, I think it was Therapy posted, like I think it was Andy Kearns from Therapy posted like some of the stuff their band donated to the and it's just like it seems like a really cool history of like music in Ulster, I guess.
Yeah, it's worth checking out if you're ever up here, because
I'd love to.
It's a hub, it's a venue. There's a couple of There's a guitar repair shop. There's a couple of labels. There's
That's sick.
agent. You know what I mean? It's just
I love that idea of just having it all in one kind of central hub like that. That's like really.
That was it. That was Gary Lightbody from Snow Patrol and a few of his buds.
Yeah.
And came up with that idea. Actually, it was around the time when I moved here because I remember seeing Gary Lightbody and Lisa Hannigan walking down the street hand in hand. And I was like, fucking super fan of both of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And it turns out they were at the opening of the OES Centre. And years later, I would end up touring with Snow Patrol and getting to know the lads. But I didn't know that at the time. So I was... But that's the nice thing about Belfast. You know, if you get recognised, the bands like Snow Patrol, like they're you know, they'll get local bands to support them.
Yeah, that's the thing about like the Belfast scene. I think like the I don't know, it's weird. Like people don't really seem to be as taken by celebrity there, if you get what I mean. Like it seems like everyone's still like part of, see themselves sort of still as part of the community, no matter how big they get. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was chatting to Duke Special there on Saturday night. He was part of this. Duke's a big, very well known musician up here. Just chatting away, doesn't give a shit. No, it's not. There's no egos at all. Honestly, it's like any of the guys, the bigger guys, you know, the Ash guys, they're not interested in walking around like they fucking own the place. It's not. It's not the case at all. Maybe it is because Belfast is a smaller city and they just probably feel daft if they did it. But Dublin's bigger, like, so maybe I don't know. Maybe it's easier to be that kind of like that celebrity.
There's a little bit of that to certain artists. Like you wouldn't see Bono just having like a pint with like back. Yeah, not to single him out. Like I'm sure he's nice.
That's the thing. It's kind of like, I think if you're big in London, you can be the celebrity, but the whole being a celebrity thing doesn't really work. Everybody's just so sound.
Yeah. And also it's kind of nice to still just like be connected to the music scene anyway. You know what I mean? It's like rather than just like sort of maxing yourself out there in terms of your celebrity status.
Yeah. And that's what it feels like.
I don't know, maybe if you're like Van Morrison, maybe.
Van, as I like to call him, because I don't know. I don't see him kicking about the OEM.
I think he might be the exception to the rule. But everyone else seems.
But the rest of them, it feels like a nice little community. Like, if any of the Snow Patrol guys walked into the OES Centre doing a gig, it would be like, all right, lads, let's crack. And they wouldn't want to be treated any other way. Like, you know what I mean? It's I kind of get their vibe that they want to be like, they want to be in the music scene too. I remember, I think I heard them saying that once. It was just like, you know, just because they're going around the world playing arena, it doesn't mean they're not a Belfast band.
Yeah,
you know, they want to be one of the cool guys. I like that. That's good.
One thing I want to ask us, because you mentioned that you lived in Edinburgh for a while. What do you think of like the art scene there? Because like, I mean, I know Edinburgh is like, you know, UT, but actually like, when I think of like the Scottish music scene, it seems to be more so centralized in Glasgow actually. So I was wondering like, how you felt like you fit in there, because I know it's a big art scene, but is it a big music scene as well?
Well, it's funny because as I said, my wife, then girlfriend, is an artist, and we went over there to live with and hang out with people that she met in college in Dublin.
Yeah.
So it was kind of straight into the art scene. But I struggled finding a music scene because I know it's all Glasgow, and it's funny because I absolutely love Glasgow bands, you know, like Frightened Rabbit, Biffy Clyro. I love them. So maybe if I was in Glasgow, I would have been hanging out with those guys. But that is a reason why I kind of I went to Belfast once I got that phone call, because I did struggle finding people who were in bands or who would be in my band. It's a hard thing to do when you go over to a new city by yourself, being like, hey, I write songs, be in my band.
Yeah.
You know? So there was a kind of a ready-made one for me in Belfast for going over. But yeah, no, definitely, as I've toured up and down the UK over the years, Glasgow is a fucking wild spot for gigging, like King Tut's and all.
And similar to Belfast, they have like just, again, every kind of size is accounted for in terms of venues.
Yeah. And the Glasgow people are just amazing. And the Glasgow crowds are mental. And we've got some fans from Glasgow who've just been for years in whatever project they've stuck with us, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a very. I think the Belfast people and the Glasgow people are similar. You know, they're mad in a way, but they love their tunes. And even though I love Edinburgh, like I moved back to Edinburgh maybe later on in life. I just love it. But you know, Edinburgh is going to be a much quieter gig than the Glasgow gig.
Yeah.
And
sometimes isn't bad.
But sometimes isn't too bad. Yeah. But Glasgow's always a fucking joy. A joy to play. We toured. My band toured with a few bands from Glasgow because I think there's a similar that whole rock scene. What we're doing with that anthemic and pure driven rock that comes out of Belfast. That comes out of Glasgow a lot as well.
Yep.
And like real kind of heartfelt. I don't want to say emo because you can't say emo anymore, but emotional lyrics. You know that. Get people by the pulls at the heartstrings. I think that's Glasgow's really good at that too. And so some of my favorite bands are Scottish bands. I'm a huge Biffy Clyro fan as well. you could definitely tell that after like 10 seconds listening to some of our songs. You have to get your inspiration somewhere. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about PiNKSLiPS then. So
yeah, man.
How did this project kind of come about then?
Well, it was. So I was in a band called the Plastic Rose for years, and we had some albums and tours and festivals. Anyway, we split up, and we were toying with the idea of the band. We all went our separate ways. We were toying with the idea of me starting her up again with a couple of new members because I had kind of written enough of the songs that I could be the front man and keep writing. It's just because I was desperate to be in a rock band again, you know what I mean? Because I'm a songwriter, I'm always writing songs. So once we broke up, I started doing solo acoustic stuff just because why not? I had nothing else to do. I didn't have a band, so I did a couple of albums as a solo artist. But I was dying to get back to being in a rock band again. But a few years out of the game, we realized that we just kind of slipped into our old habits, and it just wasn't really working. But one of the guys who came in to replace one of the other guys is David from PiNKSLiPS, and we hit it off really, really well. He's just the nicest guy in the world and an unbelievable musician. So he plays lead guitar and backing vocals. He's gifted in both areas. So he's a 2-for-1 in the band. You know what I mean? He really is. And so even at the time, we thought, right, well, the songs that we have are pretty good, but we know we can definitely, if we want to do this, we can just start a brand new band, write new songs. And that's exactly what we did. And we recruited, we auditioned a few people. Some didn't work out too well. And eventually Shane on drums and Caro on bass came along. They've been playing together for years. They're just amazing together. And it's really hard to find a rhythm section who are just completely in sync. Like you're talking, feeling the same heartbeat type stuff.
Yeah.
And you can, they've just got such an amazing connection, and they really enjoyed the songs that we were writing, the style. They wanted to be in rock bands, and I think they'd been waiting for the right band to come along, and that's how it started. And then we had it was a great that was over 3 years ago, and we're only releasing our first single now. And the idea first popped into my head 6 years ago. So it's crazy that this has finally happened, because there have been so many times when we thought we are a cursed band, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like obviously COVID, which for everyone, that was a disaster. But Shane was born with a heart condition. So anytime there was anything going around with COVID, we were not practicing for weeks, and because underlying condition, people had to fucking take extra care. Yep. And then just at the end of COVID, when everything was opening again and we were all getting back to work, Shane then gets the phone call from his doctor saying, "We need to get you in for an open heart surgery to replace your valve." Wow. So this is our sob story. So we had a gig planned, and Jesus, that was nearly 2 years ago now. Yeah. And he told us that, and that pretty much set us back another year, because the surgery and then the recovery and just getting back into the rhythm of things, it pretty much set us back for another year. And yeah, and just then there was a baby involved with a guitar player, had a baby, and life.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of times where we just thought it's just not going to happen. So Friday is going to be a big, a real big deal for us, and I'm gonna probably party on Saturday once. We're doing a secret gig in Belfast. Actually, we're not announcing it till tomorrow. A free gig in the city centre, and it'll be a beautiful time. Because just genuine. It's really frustrating when you're thinking to yourself, the thing that I do best in life, which I think is this kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
I know I can do it, but the rest of the world aren't going to find out. It's very frustrating, to not live to your full potential.
Yeah.
And that was going to frustrate me. That was going to be tough mentally as well for me not to get that music out there. So as soon as people hear this song on Friday, I'm just going to be like, whether you like it or not, I don't care, because this is what I can do, and I think it's fucking great.
Yeah.
Because as I say, I've been releasing music as a solo artist for years, but it's just a different vibe. Like, it's like you cannot beat that full band. My voice really suits the rock, and my songwriting suits the rock stuff. And it's the singer-songwriter stuff is just something that I do for a bit of fun. So yes, I have.
No, I was just gonna say, so like when you kind of like start a new project like PiNKSLiPS, like I guess like there's this like fresh slate kind of thing you have going on too. Is it intimidating then to try and accrue a fan base of kind of new listeners or new fans, or do you find it kind of like I don't know, just like you have the benefit kind of people who are kind of pre-established fans while simultaneously having the freedom to do new things?
No, it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying, because I haven't really. So my old band had a really good following, but I haven't used our old socials or anything. We don't even mention the band in our biographies or anything like that. It's like, look, if they find out, it's great. If they were fans of the band and then they want to hop on here, that's awesome. But we're just letting PiNKSLiPS do its own thing and start from absolute scratch, and hopefully. It'd be great if they did come along, but we're just looking to get new fans, and I know there's people from the solo project who are hopping on board with the rock stuff. But there's just because you like acoustic music doesn't mean that you like the same guy strapping on an electric and screaming into a mic instead of singing softly.
Yeah.
So no, it's terrifying. I think it would have been a lot easier. If I didn't bother my whole doing any of this, I just got a normal job and forgot about it. My life would be easier. But unfortunately, I wrote a few songs and I thought they were great, and that was a few years ago. And I was like, that's it. I can't rest until people hear these songs.
Yeah.
Well, it's very brave, because most people in my position, after having the kind of the career up to now, would have been happy with that and been like, yeah, okay, it's done. Had a few good times and whatever. But I never really wanted a plan B, or and I know there's probably a load of people in Belfast who are just like, dude, will you just shut up and do something? But because of the internet, I'm not trying to bother those people anymore. I'm trying to branch out and see if people from the rest of the massive world that we live in, if we could tap into that. That's kind of what we're going for now. But yeah, it's there's probably people who are just going, Jesus, I can't believe he's fucking still at that. And they'll either respect me massively, or just be like, Jesus fucking Christ. He just does not know when. If there was an award for it, does not know how to stop, when to stop, it would be me. But yeah, it's I'm confident. I'm very confident with this band and these songs. That I wouldn't have started this band if I didn't think it was going to be better than anything I've done before.
Yeah.
Why would I do that? That doesn't make sense to me. Let's start, like, after all we've been through, I'm gonna start a band that I think is not quite as good as the old band, but that's crazy. I had to think, and once these songs came along, I was like, okay, this is good. And the feedback I've got from a few people, they have all kind of said that, yeah, this is the strongest stuff you've ever been a part of, and I'm like, so that's good. Well, of course they're going to say that anyway, but still.
I guess like one of the final things I'll ask is actually just about your debut song Youngblood. So I was wondering like why did you choose this one as the first kind of representation of the band?
Yeah, good question. We kind of feel like it's kind of got a bit of everything in it in 3.5 minutes. Straight away from the get-go, it's big, it's heavy, but it's melodic straight away. The lyrics I feel are quite strong. You can kind of I'm painting a picture as I go along lyrically. I feel like, and I don't like to talk too much about like line to line what every lyric means, because that I don't want to take anything away from the listener, because I want them to draw their own connections to the lyrics.
Yeah.
But they're good. I like them. They come from a good place. The chorus is massive. It's a huge anthemic chorus. That's what we do. We do big choruses. Yeah. It's not too heavy. It's not too light, because we have heavier songs and we've got lighter songs. So it's just somewhere in the middle. And actually, I kind of feel like, because we have stronger songs as well, which is it's not putting Youngblood down. It's actually being a bit cocky.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to put our best song out first, because I was like, if we can draw people in with Youngblood, imagine then what they're going to think of. But I think we've got 3 or 4 songs lined up after this one, which is very important. I think a lot of bands will get excited by a good song and forget that they actually have to back it up.
Yeah.
So we have that. We have that in. We've got singles that'll get us through next year, no problem. I know we've got a really strong album, but that's the reason. We recorded 2 at the same time, and I think we didn't know. We even during that process, we didn't know whether it was going to be Youngblood or Ambidextrous. We knew they were going to be singles number 1 and 2, but we didn't know what order. And something happened. It could have even been a simpler case, like Youngblood was just finished first, actually. But let's just go with first answer, because it's a bit more.
It seems a bit more deliberate.
Yeah. Like we had an actual fucking plan. But no, I think before I went to the studio, I think I was thinking I'd like to do Youngblood first, because I genuinely feel Ambidextrous, which is the second single, is a banger. Yeah. And it'd be nice to just get that momentum going. Well, I think we're playing Dublin in February. You're going to have to come down now.
Yeah, well, where are you playing?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Our PR guy who you've been talking to, he's doing, but I know it's at the end of February, and we don't know. We don't know too many people in Dublin, so I'm going to have to be getting the fucking calling all the relatives in Tallaght.
Play the Civic or something.
My cousins are playing. My cousins have sold out the Civic Theatre.
Yeah.
The Keeley brothers, they're called. Nice. And they're doing a gig together, because he does the Pantos, every year. He's been doing them for years. Remember when they were in the Olympia for years, and now they're doing them in the Civic. So he's been doing them for years, and now actually, my other cousin has just been he's just been crowned Tallaght Person of the Year at the award ceremony last week. You're dealing with some serious fucking people here, man. Let me tell you. Yeah, well, it'd be great to get the Civic. Oh, the dragon, the dragon.
Yeah, the Dragon Inn, yeah.
Yes, that's where they drink with the Al Porter. They're good friends with Al Porter. So there you go, Tallaght.
Actually, Tallaght has a nice. Recently got like pretty nice practice space. Like it's been there for, I don't know, probably like the last decade and a half. The Rural Red, which is literally just opposite the Civic. It's
nice.
like a practice space where a lot of bands kind of play. You can it's just, you know, opposite the square. So if you're coming out shopping and stuff, you just hear just people practicing shit. It's like it's pretty cool.
It's funny because I remember when I was a kid leaving Tallaght, and all Tallaght was a village.
Yeah.
And I remember they had the foundations, and that was it. Tallaght was just fields.
Yeah.
And now you go, and I can't. It's, do you know what? And I remember
it's so industrialized now. Yeah.
Yeah. The square was massive when I was a kid, and now you can hardly fucking see them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It's fucking hilarious.
No, I do remember that, because like that kind of area was like the kind of, I guess, the quote unquote industrial part of I was gonna say the city, whatever Tallaght is, whatever.
Look, if Sligo's a city, Tallaught's definitely. Jesus Christ. But yeah, cheers for that, man. That was awesome. Thanks very much.
Perfect. I just had one last thing. I was just gonna ask what your plans are for 2024.
Oh yeah. So we've got the second single ready to go.
Yep.
We are going to do a small tour. You know, and we're not deluded either. You know, we know that the first tour is going to be small, but we just want to get out. We'd love to then try and hit up some festivals over the summer. We want to. I think when you're starting out, it's very important to not be discouraged by not getting fancy emails every week. It's like, right, there's so much you can do, and we're not just a band. We're a label, and we're like a fucking multimedia company, because it's all these content things that we do, and there's so much work that you can do just as a band without getting those really exciting emails. So with the four of us together, we'll have a plan of, we'll hit the studio again. We have a really great relationship with the guy Alan McGreevy in Badlands Studio, so we'll be going back to him, and we'll just tick away at recording an album throughout the year, and then whenever, you know, hopefully some festivals, and then I would imagine another tour at the end of the summer. But we're only concerned about the things that we can control ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what we can control. The nature of being in a band is that you do get those emails every now and then that say, do you want to do a fancy gig, or do you want to be on this fancy show? So obviously I'd be fooling myself to say that I wouldn't be hoping stuff like that comes in.
Yeah.
But also not disheartened if it doesn't, because, you know, you can control being in a band so much more these days with the internet and the content and all the time. And you know, we all know our stuff. You know, our drummer, you know, me and the drummer do editing, film. We have a couple of nice cameras that actually got because of COVID, Arts Council money, like, you know, stuff like that. So we have a lot of gear. We have our own studio. So we can be very, very self-sufficient band, and we can do our own, you know, that's the way we're looking at it. Like, how do we be a band without any help from anybody? And then if help comes along, well, number one, they better be better than us. But, you know, we're all big and ugly enough to take care of ourselves as a band, and we do look at it like it's a job, and it's a business, and which you have to. Unfortunately, it's kind of not very sexy, but yeah. So that's it. We're gonna do the things that we can control, and just try and enjoy being in a band, because we all, you know, I miss not being in a band, and still only getting to grips with like the daily routine of, you know, what do you do. And I'm a graphic designer as well, so I do all our posters and cards and fucking banners and all this kind of shit. So we're all able to pitch in. And, you know, we're not spending money making phone calls being like, oh, we need some posters that designed, we need a logo, stuff like that. You know, we're all able to kind of make it work and make it move. So, yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully you'll get to a gig. It'd be great.
I will. That'd be great.
Because there's a very good chance that when we play Dublin, it'll be to the Soundman. You know what I mean? So.
Well, thanks, man, for your time, and best luck with the single on Friday.
Cheers. Well, can I get a little bit of I do a Gerry cam thing on Instagram, and this is you're going to be on it. There you go. Because we wave there. Perfect. That's it. It's kind of like my point of view thing. It's silly. If you go onto our Instagram, there's like 3 of them there. It's just me being fucking, me being a fucking agent. Like, cool. Well, look, have a good day, man. And cheers for that. Really appreciate it. And let us know when she's up. I'm sure we'll spread it all over the internet.
Perfect. Take care.
Legend. Cheers, dude.
Bye. Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. If you liked it, please subscribe and stick around because we have plenty more like this coming soon.